Welcome to episode number 30 of the Stories I'll Tell. Now, this is a space where my leader friends and I discuss stories and testimonies that will help you launch, land, and lead well in the kingdom. I'm your host and discussion facilitator, Felicia Johnson. And today in the studio, we have some of my favorite people in the entire world. With people who make me laugh every day, who encourage me when I'm down, who give me a reason to keep going. You've heard me talk about my daughters, whom I love so much, but I want them to have the opportunity to introduce themselves to the world. Can I start with you, Nisi?
Sure. My name is Kanisha. They know me and call me, or know me as, but call me Nisi. I'm the oldest of the four girls.
I'm Krista. I'm the third daughter.
I'm Kaylee. I'm 4 of 4.
And I'm Cherish. I'm the second daughter, but I am number one. So,
We have made so many memories. And one of the things that I thought was important as you grew up is I wanted to make memories. And it's worked exactly the way I thought it would work. But rather than spending all of the money on expensive gifts, what we tried to do is to create memories so that when you went away and came back home, you would start by saying, "Do you remember that time?" And that's exactly what happens. I believe that memories are important. They're important because at some point, they are the only thing that you will have left. And so we have to be intentional with our moments. Why? Because if we're not intentional, we will squander our moments. And at some point, we don't have good memories to lean on. So I'd like to hear from you. What is one of your favorite childhood memories? I'll start with you, Cherish.
okay. One of my favorite things that we did during my childhood was a mock cooking class or like cooking show. So you would line us up around the counter, and you would be the emerald, and we would be the audience, and you would show us how to cook.
Yeah. You remember making donuts?
I do remember the donuts. Yeah.
Does anybody else have a favorite memory?
One of my favorite memories. There are a lot to choose from, but there was this one trip to Panama City, and I remember Mama being on the phone. I don't know if she was trying to make reservations or what, but I just remember Panty Mom.
I was trying to be articulate. Krista?
Yes. What stands out to me about our childhood, and I think is the reason why we're so close, even though we're close in age, is that we always spent time together through softball. And so we always kind of all played in the same age group for the most part. And so even though we weren't obviously in the same classes because we weren't the same exact age, after school, driving down to the softball field, playing softball, practicing pretty much 5 days a week, just contributed to how close we are. So, yeah.
I love that. Nisi?
I don't know that this is a favorite memory, but it's a memory that is very clear in my mind still. But when I turned 16, I was told that I was going to be a member of the Real World MTV show
For teens.
and for teens, and I was ordered to pack my bags after school. We all got in the car. They drove me to the Laurel Airport. I had the ticket, the flight ticket. I had my ticket for the show. And as I'm walking in, we are all in tears because we have never been apart. And as I'm walking in, I hear someone say, "Nene, get back in the car. You know you're not going to the real world." So not a favorite memory, but I will never forget it.
Yeah. And I want to tell you why that happened. You were at that age where every day you would say, "I can't wait to leave this house. I can't wait to leave this house." And so it was my I really felt led of the Lord to help you learn a lesson. And so
Oh.
that's really why we did
Yeah.
that.
You
Yeah,
feel like
that's-
the Lord led you to lie.
Yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy, right?
Because
That is
How
diabolical.
I saw it was, we're talking about age. I was at the age where I could be manipulated because I was manipulated into going on that,
Thinking you were
thinking I
going
was going to go on
bamboozled,
that show.
And that wasn't the
Bamboozled.
Lord.
Bamboozled.
hoodwinked,
Hoodwinked. That's a good one.
swindled.
Swindled.
Okay.
Yep.
Lied to.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about memories. All of the things that you said, I smile when you say them because I remember the feeling that I had around each of those memories. Memories are important. What will you do or do you do to create memories with your children?
Well, one thing that we did when we were younger was we always went on some kind of trip. I wouldn't call it a vacation, but I guess it was a vacation. And so that's what I do for Noah. It's very important to me that I build memories with him. I tell him that all the time. So at least once a year, we try to make plans or arrangements to go somewhere new, fun, exciting, just to build those memories.
Yeah.
So I think I want to encourage like talking while we're eating, spending time together while you're eating dinner, and then just sharing about your day. I think really kind of encourages that connection too. So I really want to do that.
I like that.
And piggybacking off of both of those things, we try to take Isaiah to like the lakefront, like the farmer's market, and get him out and get those memories. But also at the end of the day, I do like to tell him about like what happened. Like even though he experienced the same day that I did most of the time, I like to tell him, okay, so we did this, and you laughed at this, and this was funny. So I like doing that.
I like that.
I'll also add to my sisters are extremely important to me.
Yeah.
Like Krista said earlier, we've been very close.
Yeah.
We've always been close, but even to bring Noah around them all the time, that's super important to me. I want him to know who his aunts are. I want him to know who his grandma and grandpa are, or grandma and pop, I should say. So every chance we get to be around family, we try to be around family because that's important to me.
The earliest memory I have of my mom, and I don't know what age I was, but I'm thinking I may have been 3 or 4. I'm leaning on 3 just because I can't see my mom doing what she did when I was 4. We were walking up to a man named Mr. Arthur's house, and he had a well, a water well, and she was carrying some buckets of water. And in the middle of us walking, she put her hand out. And I knew that meant stop. And she said, "Do you see that?" And I said, "See what, Mama?" And she said, "That snake." And there was a super thin green snake in front of us. And you know that Mama was very small frame. She was probably less than 100 pounds all the days that I've known her, right? And she put those 2 buckets of water in her right hand. And she picked me up on her hip, on her left side. And she said, "Hold on. When I say jump, you make sure you're holding on." And I say, "Okay." She goes, 1, 2, 3, jump. She jumps with me. I've always known her as a protector. I want to ask you about being protective as a mom, as an aunt, as a daughter. What types of things do you think parents today have to protect their children from?
There are so many things that you have to protect your children from, or I feel like there are so many things you have to protect your children from. A lot of that being just like the opinions and complaints of others, I guess. There are so many like influences and outside opinions, and a lot of what you say can get kind of muffled in the noise of everything else. So like things like that, as well as like the physical things, especially like with Isaiah learning to walk and whatnot, and he gets into everything in the cabinet. So like just watching out for the physical things as well, but definitely the noise of the world.
What else would you protect a child from?
Everything. I'm sorry. Nothing is safe,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It could be a family member, and that family member doesn't physically have to hurt that child. But like Kaylee said, if they're not speaking positivity or life into that child, that's damaging. I know I tell Noah every day, you're so smart, you're kind, you're gentle. I want him to hear those things so he
Yeah.
believes those things about himself. But again, everybody doesn't speak those words to your children.
Yeah.
Everything is what I would say. And there's just a lot.
I think that in general, like it's nothing specific, but just the world is very predatory. And I don't think, I mean that like in a typical way, but people just don't always have the motives that they say that they have. And I think that that's the best thing that I can teach is that you just always have to be aware and use discernment. Now, obviously, like a young child may not understand that, but you don't want them to just be extremely trusting for no reason because people prey on children for no reason at this point.
Yeah. When I grew up, there were periods in my childhood where my mom stayed home. And there were periods in my childhood when my mom chose to work. Is there shame in a mother deciding to work outside of the home?
No, I don't think it is. Some people work for necessity, and then some people also work for enjoyment, or just something to keep them busy. And I feel like even if you have a kid at home, if there are means for the kids to be taken care of while you're not home, if you want to work just for enjoyment or out of necessity, then go ahead and do it because what the mother or the parent needs, that matters too.
Absolutely. I always think about, when I hear a person say that a woman shouldn't work, and I'm with you. If you choose to work, that's great. That's great because it's your decision. And if you choose not to work, that's great. It's your decision as long as you can support yourself. But when I hear people say that you should not work outside of the home, I always think, well, Eve worked in the garden because that was the world to her. As the world expanded, so did woman's role. Kaylee, were you going to add something? Do you think that there's shame in working outside of the home?
No, I don't think it's shame, especially I guess in like today's economy. Like you just got to do what you got to do. As much as I would love to be a stay-at-home mom, right now it's just not feasible, and that's okay. I don't mind working because I want to give my family, my child and future children the best life possible that I can give them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know that I worked outside of the home, right? And I'm like you, it was not feasible for me to stay home. And honestly, even if it were feasible, I need some adult interaction. And so I think at this point you do what you feel comfortable doing. Krista?
Just like everyone else, no, I do not think there is any shame in working outside the home for several reasons. Like Cherry said, sometimes you have to, sometimes you just want to, and that's perfectly fine.
I agree.
Okay.
To be clear, I don't want to work. But I do it out of necessity.
Hey, there's nothing wrong. As long as you know that you don't want to work, my prayer is going to be you get to a point where you don't have to work.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
I think about Proverbs 31 talks about a virtuous woman, right? And that virtuous woman, if you read it carefully, she took care of her family. But there's something else that she did. She was a businesswoman. It says that she would buy and sell from afar. And so I don't think that there's anything wrong with the person working. For me, it was out of necessity. And I also wanted to give you all opportunities that may not have been there had I not worked so hard. And so, yeah, there we are. In working, it is easy to not be present for your children.
I was going to go there.
Okay, well, I'm just going to let you take it then.
No, I was just going to say for people who do decide to work, and also I think for people who don't decide to work, there's a trade
Yeah.
to get for one or the other.
Yep. As a mama, and I don't know that this was good or if it was error, but I honestly never felt like I had to choose between my home and work. I grew up in the era of you can do both things well. And one of the things that I tried to do, now I did not always get this right, but one of the things that I tried to do was to be present with you all. As a younger parent, a younger woman, I assumed that being in the same room was the same thing as being present. What's the difference between being in the same room and being present?
So for me, it's really just engagement. So, and I actually noticed this currently. There'll be sometimes where, like, I'm with Eden doing something, like holding her, trying to rock her to sleep, and I'm on my phone, and I'll catch myself, like, because I'll, like, see her looking at me, and I'll catch myself, like, I'm not even really paying attention. And so I have to put my phone down. Even though she can't talk to me, she's still paying attention, and she can tell whether or not I'm engaged. And I think that, you know, kids really pick up on that even very early, and so that's just that difference, just that engagement.
Okay. What are the measures that you take or you will take to be engaged with your children?
Just like Krista was saying, I will put my phone down. Especially Isaiah will actually do something to let me know that he needs my attention.
Yes, he will.
So I will, if he does something like that, or if I catch myself, then I will put my phone down and we'll go read a book, or I'll say, "Oh, you want to go outside? You want to go play?" Just that. I think that was one of my things starting this year. Is I didn't have like a New Year's resolution per se, but I knew going into this year I wanted to be more intentional with the time that I spent with him. So going outside, playing, reading a book, those things.
Yeah. We all learn something in our mama's house that impacts us for life. What's something you learned in your mama's house that has impacted you even now?
I would say one thing that I definitely got from you, I work very hard. Not to toot my own horn, but I do. I go to work and I make sure when I'm at work, I'm actually working. And I will say that you are a very hard worker. And I think that, you know, if I didn't see that growing up, then I would just think, oh, I'm just go to work, go get paid, you know, whatever, that's work. But, you know, I've seen you in action at work, you know, being busy, you know, knocking tasks off the list and things like that. So, yeah, I did get that from you.
You do work very hard.
I say this all the time. I actually was asked this this question, I guess, in a different way the other day. But to dream big, that is just very important to me personally, but it's important that I show Noah that as well. I admire how, and correct me if I do not say this right, but is it multifaceted? That you are. I think that you have done a very good job of just using your way in every way possible to get the most use out of yourself. And that's inspiring to me. I'm never content with what I do. Satisfied, you know, but like if I feel like I have mastered something, I want to go to the next thing. I'm always willing to grow. I'm always willing to learn, push myself to the next level, challenge myself. Super, super, super important to me personally. And I think that I saw that growing up. I think we still see that as adults from you. And yeah.
I want to add something to that. I will say Noah has picked up something from you. You know how Noah, Niecy, no shade, none at all, but you are more mild than Mama is. Like, Mama will speak her mind more, you know. Noah will stand up for himself, and I think it's because he spends a lot of time, like, with you, and also with Joe.
Joe Asher's
Joe
same
will
way.
speak up, you know, and Joe will tell you right is right, wrong is wrong, and Joe will, you know, stand up for himself. And with Noah, and Noah was speaking up for classes that he needed to be in with the teachers. Like, why am I not in this class? Like, this is the class I'm supposed to be in.
Right.
And so I think that, we all have had that example of somebody who's assertive and who knows how to stand up for themselves.
I'd like to invite you to make a difference all around the world. You can do so by partnering with me. How do you partner? By sowing a weekly, one-time, or monthly gift into our ministry. Your gifts and contributions of love will help me to continue to take the gospel of Jesus Christ and encouraging words into homes everywhere through our podcast, The Stories I'll Tell, and by ministering in person to any place that God sends me to. If God places it on your heart to sow into this ministry, you can do so in a few ways. First, you can write us at P.O. Box 18391, Hattiesburg, Mississippi 39404. Make your checks payable to the International Institute for Personal Development. You can also sow via PayPal. You're just going to type in the @TEC749. Here's my prayer for you as you sow into this ministry. That God would make all grace abound toward you. That you would always have all sufficiency in everything. And that you would be able to give to every good work. God bless you and thank you for partnering with me. I want to revisit the topic of work for a minute. One of the things that has been important to me is that you have choices in life, okay? Because with choice comes power. Does that make sense? Your parents can't make you become anything, but they can set the stage to where you have a choice that if you want to, it's you have that option. And when it comes to work and work ethic and using all of your gifts and your talents and being assertive and standing up for yourself, one of the things that I wanted for each of you is, while I want you to have someone who will take care of you, if that's what you desire, while I want you to have someone who allows you to be a soft woman, I also would not want you to have to stay in a relationship because you don't have a skill. I want you to be I've always wanted you to be able to take care of yourself. And you're with people in your life because you want them, not because you need them. Does that make sense? And so that has given me probably some of the greatest pleasure of my life, is to watch you develop into people who you're complete without a man. Now you have men and husbands, but you're complete without that. Does that make sense? And that's just really meaningful for me. That's who you are.
I think that was translated growing up from you, but Daddy also. Daddy would say all the time, you need to find somebody that's adding to you. Like, you're already that person, that girl, but you need to find somebody that is adding to you. What is this person bringing to the table? And I feel like we all grasp that growing up. So
There's a question I want to ask you. Nature or nurture? How do we become who we are? Is it by the family that we're born into, our DNA, nature? Or is it by who pours into our lives, nurture?
It's completely nurture. I mean, there may be a little bit of nature in there, but with anything, you really become what you see a lot of times. Now, sometimes you can become what you don't see, as in, like, you make an active decision, like, I saw this, so I'm not going to do this. But I think almost everything that we do and who we become is based off of what we have seen over and over again.
Agreed.
And that's good or bad.
Right, right.
I was just saying, I think it's both. At least for me, like, growing up, there are some things that, yes, I picked up, but also with the people that I allow to pour into my life, I'm able to, I guess, have the choice to fall back on some things that I grew up like knowing. So like I don't really have to do that anymore. Or, oh well, even though I grew up knowing this, I can still, like, I have more opportunities to do this thing or to be this person.
Which brings me to my next question, actually. You know, Kaylee, I have told this story more times than I can count. I am not a crier. And I'm just not. I am a let's get up and get this done. And I don't think I cried at any wedding. Well, I cried at your wedding.
Yeah.
I did. Because your husband was crying so hard. So then I started crying, right? But Kaylee, I did cry at your wedding. And the part that made me cry is when our pastor said, Kaylee, Trey, you have a heritage of faith that has been passed along to you. And I started just bawling because one of the things that I realized is that if I leave this world today and I can't leave you money and I can't leave you houses and cars and worldly wealth, one of the things that I want to leave you is a heritage of faith. How, if I have I passed along my faith to you, and how will you pass along your faith to your children? I'll start with you since I used you as an example.
Well, I remember, and I think I told you this or like wrote it to you. I remember like waking up really early in the morning, and if I walked in the living room, I could hear you and Daddy praying in the bathroom. And so, I mean, there have been times when I've woken up in the middle of the night and I've gotten tripped and I was like, "Hey, can you pray with me?" So just stuff like that. Like I try to make sure to like when I wake Isaiah up, all right, let's say our morning prayers. So just stuff like that. I really do appreciate learning to pray by like hearing how to pray.
Amen. What is a lesson that I taught you that you would want to pass along?
I don't think I realized it, I guess, as much as when I was little, is that you, like Nisi said, are very multifaceted. And I don't mean that just in a working way. I mean, like, you always were big on, like making sure you looked put together. Very involved as far as, like, parenting, like, our school, like, making sure we knew school was very important and stuff like that. So just having all of those kind of pockets instead of just focusing on one area, that is like the biggest thing that I think that I can teach, is that you're not just going to focus on one thing. Like being, well, for me, because even as a girl, like being a woman, you have to focus on working hard. You want to make sure you look put together. You want to make sure that you are always open to learning, you know what I mean? Dreaming big, like Nisi said. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons, is just, you're just not a one trick pony.
I will say the lesson between, or like finding the balance between playtime and work time. Because if we made a bad grade, now we cut up at the house. We cut up very bad as kids at the house, but good, clean fun. But if we, and we were very smart. But if we made a bad grade, it would be, something along the lines of, look at you with bad grades. All your friends got good grades, and look at you with bad grades. So you're teaching us, there's a time to play, and then there's a time to, get serious. And I think that's something that I still think about now. Like, I can cut up on the weekends. I can cut up when I'm not at work, but got to go to work, make this dollar holler, come back on.
I would say a specific lesson would be how to save money.
Yes.
That's something that I feel like I do very well. It's something that Joash didn't know how to do when I met him, and he tells me to this day that I was the one that taught him that, but I actually got that from you. When we would get money, we would have to put a certain amount away before even spending it. And then that's something that I'm teaching Noah as well, so saving money.
My grandmother taught me how to save money, and you know that my grandmother and I were very close, right? And one of the ways that she taught me to save money is through my mother. So my mother and father, this, were 15 when I was born, right? And so she did not allow my mother to marry my father until my mother turned 21. When my mother turned 18 and got her first job, my grandmother didn't charge her rent. She lived with my grandmother, and she would just give her money every week. Mama, here, this is for you, this is for you. And my grandmother had saved every dime of that money for her. And when my mother wanted to buy her first home, my grandmother said, well, you've got your down payment because every dime you've given me, I've saved it for you. And so that always stuck with me, is to make sure that you're saving money and that you show your children how to save money. Every child growing up says, when I become an adult, I will not do this. What is one thing that you vowed you would not do?
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one. But you find yourself doing it.
Oh.
I said I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't going to do it. Now, I don't find myself doing any of those things. No, but one thing that I find myself doing sometimes is I'll cook and then I'll kind of expect somebody else to clean up after me.
Ooh.
So it's a flaw, but I'm working on it.
Well, if I'm cooking, the least another person can do is clean up, right?
Well, no.
But we
No,
don't have time to hash that out here
You cooked
today.
because you wanted to cook, okay? And you need to wash those dishes. Now, if you wanted to gift me a meal, that's on you. It's not on me. I should be punished because you wanted to help me.
Next.
One thing that I said that I wouldn't do but find myself doing. It would probably be, oh goodness gracious. I don't want to say temper, but I don't want to say temper.
Frustration.
Probably because I don't like to believe that I have a temper, but I do get frustrated.
Sure.
And instead of expressing my frustrations, I tend to pull back.
Yeah.
And I just won't talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, she says hers. She does not pull back.
All the time.
Most of us.
One of my flaws is that when I'm really frustrated to the point of just really being frustrated, I will go into myself. I will. That's not a good
I
thing,
can
but
see
I
that.
will. Krista?
I haven't reached this stage yet in parenthood, but I have seen it in other areas, is yelling. Especially like when I already have stuff outside of like a relationship or something, or the interaction that I'm dealing with. If I have stuff outside of that already going wrong and then I get frustrated in that interaction, it is just going to, yeah.
You know, when you were growing up, one of the things that I would say is, I need a support group for screaming moms.
This is going to seem petty, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind. A chore list. I loathed that when we were growing up. I feel like it was abused.
It was.
It was, absolutely. Because I shouldn't be doing a parent's chores.
The chore list wasn't the problem. You need to be on the chore list.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why am I making your bed?
I don't need
to not my chore.
You asked me a question. I cannot. I can't wrap my head around. Like if you come in, you cook and you use all these dishes.
All of them.
All of them.
Every
literally,
single last
every
one of
pot
them.
in the cabinet. I'm on the list that day to clean the kitchen. And I didn't participate in dirtying up those dishes.
You will be cleaning for 40 days and 40 nights.
Right.
Like, literally.
Their pots are soaking.
I just swore I would never do that. However, Noah does not have a chore list, but he has chores. And the reason I do that is to help build responsibility.
Yeah.
And for him to have basic life skills,
Yeah.
like how to wash his clothes or how to wash a dish. But I will never go into a kitchen, use every pot we own, and tell Noah to come in and wash those pots.
Right. You can put these sets with me.
Will never. Okay.
Let me say this. There are some chores that we do because we live in the house.
Right.
The pots and the pans, because you eat, are part of the chores that we do just because they're common chores. And but I want to move on from that.
Please, because
Because when was the last time you washed a pot? So let's move on.
Hang on, let me say this. Kaylee, when you left home,
I know.
thought, well, who is going to wash the
I know you
dishes?
did.
It's been a hard road for me.
I actually remember Daddy calling me and telling me to come back and wash the dishes.
But I think that speaks volumes because that tells you every child is out of your home and you're still using every pot in the house. It was never us.
Because
wasn't.
I had stopped eating. Because I didn't want to wash any more dishes. I went on strike from eating. So you didn't cook for me.
I'm a grab
I
some on the way
started
home.
starving myself.
Okay. So I want to ask a few questions. And you're just going to point to the person that this fits, okay? Who do you think?
Are you in it as well, though?
No, it's just,
Oh, it's just
yeah,
us.
you can't point at me. You
Okay,
have to point to each other.
And can you use yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of all things, who do you think your mom will leave her worldly wealth to? Okay. Who do you think your mom's favorite child is?
This is just because she's close, but it's actually Cherish.
Can I interject here?
Yes.
I would say when we were growing up, it was cherished.
But I've
I
seen
think we will all agree to
you have to
that.
pay attention to their interactions now, but you don't because you don't see it as much because she doesn't live here anymore. But just pay attention. It's Cherish.
Yeah.
It's Cherish.
Who would be the first person to put me in a nursing home?
Yeah, it would be Cherish.
Definitely Cherish. Definitely.
That's a fact.
Facts.
She talks about it all the time.
Yeah, she told me
I'm
yesterday
thinking-
that
I told her she needs to start touring and find the places she likes.
That's it. I'm thinking. I don't know what to tell you.
who did mom have to come to the school to defend mostly?
No. Well, she had done the defending before you got there. But you had to come and get her.
Yeah.
Because she had done the defending.
Absolutely.
A lot of times, guys, we do think that our parents have favorites.
We know.
They do.
It do. And that's okay.
If everybody says it's true,
Well,
it's true.
the truth is this. Yesterday someone asked me a question, and it was about favorites with children, and I know for a fact that I don't have favorites. Okay, it's just that you all are very different, and the love that I have for you looks different. Does that make sense? Because you're different and you have different needs. What would you do? What would you recommend to parents who have multiple children to make sure that they are not showing partiality?
I think to show somebody that you really care for them and that you really love them, you interact with them in the ways that they like to be interacted with. For example, I've been asking you for a long time, let's go on a trip. I might have something to do that week. I'm busy. I've been asking you for at least 2 or 3 weeks. Let's go to New York.
I hate to hash this out here, but let me just say this. The reason that I have not been back to New York with you is
I
when
don't care.
I went,
Oh no.
you did not think that I knew how to navigate the city, and so you were overprotective, and it was very stifling for me to say the least. Does that make sense? But let me ask.
Don't cut me off because I was going to get started. I had a rebuttal. I wanted to go and tour the city. You wanted to stay inside and work. I didn't want to do that. We could have worked in Hattiesburg.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. What would you say to a person to keep them from being partial to their children?
I don't know necessarily. I don't have multiple children. I don't have Noah, but kind of what Sherry said. Like, you just kind of have to try to give that child, what they need.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like me, my employees. They're all different. All have different personalities. I could tell one of them just very blunt, I need this done. That person's going to do it. That person responds well. And then the next person, I might have to say, well, this is how we, kind of butter them up.
Sure.
Or give them a praise first before you.
Sure.
So I guess you can kind of use that the same way, just knowing how to talk to them.
Yeah. Can I add something to that? I totally agree with what you're saying. One of the things that I've tried to do is instead of having equality, is to have equity. Equality is to give every person the same thing, but equity is to give each person what is needed. Does that make sense? But I also wanted to double back on work. One of the things that has always been important for me, and I don't know if it's important to you, is that as I've worked, because I've always had to work hard, and I actually like to work, I like to work. Sometimes I had to choose between quality and quantity. And so many times, because I was always on the road, the quantity of time wasn't there. But I'm hoping that the quality of time was there. So what do you do to ensure, or what will you do to ensure that the time you have with your children is quality?
I will say is paying attention to what your child likes. So it doesn't really do me any good, or a child any good. Let's say that child likes sports, and then but they're not really big on like screen time, and then I take them to the movies. It's hard for them to appreciate that because that they don't like that, and so just paying attention to hopefully the things that she grows to like. And then using that as a way to spend time instead of what I want to do, and then calling it quality time.
Well, what's your favorite mom saying? Something your mom said.
Father.
Yes. Oh my God.
Said that to me the other day.
It probably was me. I don't know.
Father.
I was telling Cherish the other day, I was at work one time and I said it and didn't realize I said it. And somebody just busted out laughing. And I was like, what is funny? Because I was really frustrated. And they were like, you say that all the time, Father. I was like, yeah. And I was just like, my mom says that.
I have two things.
Okay.
One is something that I learned from you, obviously, because we always went to church. But if I could touch the hem of his garment, like if I'm having a rough day at work, I will literally say, if I could touch the hem of his garment. And now I have one of my best friends at work saying it. So I love that. But also something from Lana Mae, your grandmother.
Yeah.
She, after any task, like even if it was just getting butter out the fridge, she would like make this sound like, phew. That took a lot out of me. I say it every day.
Yes.
I can't lie. That's one of my favorites.
Yes.
I get it. I say it every day.
Thank you.
Mine is disappointed but not shocked.
Amen.
I love it.
Amen.
It's such an insult.
It's so shady.
And the way
Why are
that
you
she
telling
said
your
her
3-year-old
face,
that?
Disappointed but not shocked. Like it hurt me.
Like you're not shocked that I would do that. I was shocked that I
And
did.
the curl at the end. Disappointed. Not shocked. Yeah.
You ate us up with that.
I actually don't have one that's coming to mind.
Okay.
I do love the
Yeah, I get it.
I'm there. Strict, moderate, or lenient? What was I to you, and what will you be to your child?
Strict, beyond strict. Lord have mercy. What is after strict?
I have to actually respectfully disagree. And the reason why, I think that actually both of them were pretty, no, hear me when I say this. They were actually moderate, but I feel like if you didn't do what they thought you were supposed to do, you would see an unpleasant side.
And
But
that's strict though, because
But it wasn't strict in the sense of like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I feel like they kind of let you do what you wanted, but if you did something that they didn't agree with, then it was gonna be like, okay, no. That's why I didn't.
I'm gonna
just got in
disagree and agree with Cherish. Definitely strict. I have a story, actually.
Oh no.
Because you made the comment about if you weren't doing, so we were in the mall one day and we were walking through, and there was this boy that I went to school with. No interest in the boy at all. And he said, "Hey, Kanisha." And I said, "Hey," his name. what are you grinning like a Cheshire cat?
Oh my gosh.
My God.
I could have a friend.
Yeah, I know.
So it was little things like that. And I have another story if you would like me to keep going.
Because I can keep
I
going
want to
too.
just say the reason that I probably said that. Of course, I doubt that it happened, but the truth is this:
I do remember that happening. I will come to the
I
witness
just did
stand.
not want you to. I didn't want someone to mistake your smile as that you and think that you were desperate. I want you to, as we end, I want you to answer this. Finish this statement. I could always count on my mom for.
Back up. And I'm being serious. I know we were rough kids sometimes, but I do know that if somebody mistreated us, you would be right there. I just remember the softball games.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You did not play the radio with nobody up there. Okay, they couldn't say anything bad about us. You and Kenny Johnson. Y'all gonna get them.
Stand 10 toes down
I was
behind the
never worried about
kids.
it. You can play with me if you want to, but you're not gonna play with my mama.
I could count on my mom for what?
I could count on my mom to come to the school when there was a grade that she did not like. I remember she came up there for a 92B.
Oh,
Yes,
gosh.
because you needed an A, and that's what you
It
made.
did get pushed up to a 93. I'm not going to
I told y'all she had me retaking every test
Yeah.
to get into an advanced class. Mind you, I made the grade that I made, but but she did it for me. But I can always count on my mom to know exactly where she stood on something. There was no in between. I would always know exactly how you felt about something.
Even if she was wrong.
I could count on my mom for supplying what we needed, but not always what we wanted. I will say that.
Christmas.
Oh,
I'm actually not talking about physical things. And I'll leave it there.
I brought up Christmas because of those boots you got me last year.
oh gosh, not the Ugg snow boots.
I want to say this, and I truly mean this. Being your mama has been one of the greatest honors of my life, and I mean that. And when people look at me and they say, "You're so driven," and I've said this 1,000 times to people, I'm actually not. I've had two goals all of my life, too. And one was to be a good mama. The other had nothing to do with work or anything like that. Does that make sense? And so I want to thank you for having an imperfect mom, but still managing to have a pretty perfect life, making the best out of it. And working with me as I grew into motherhood and into grandmamahood now, right? Someone asked me last night, is it true that you love your grandkids more than you loved your kids? And I said, no, it's not. What happens is when you become a grandparent, you've matured. And so all of the things that stressed you out as a parent no longer stress you out. So that's how you can come to the house and Noah's bouncing the ball. And you go, I don't understand why you're letting him do that. You would not have let me do that. But it's been a great honor. And Gam loves y'all so very much.
And we love you too. And we appreciate you as a mother. And you have become, you were always a great mother, but you really have a nearly perfected motherhood. You've become much more patient, a better communicator. And you try to get into activities as much as you can that we do.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for being someone that I can call.
Yeah.
Of course. So with that, I want to thank you for just joining with us today. Well, there wasn't any great advice that you received today, but I hope this makes you want to call your mama and just reflect on the lives that you've had. I don't have a mama to call right now, but that makes me an even better mama because I am intent on making memories with these girls. I want you to do the same. If you have a mama, call her. Start talking about those memories. If you have a kid, call that kid. Start talking about memories. Get together. Be intentional. Make this journey the best that it can be. Until next time, I want to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to know that you're there and that what we have is worthy of your ears. We'll see you later.